Hi, so today I wanted to talk to you guys. I just had the most amazing sunrise yoga class at 7 a.m. So those of you that are here with Beachbody, you should be proud of me. But I wanted to share an experience I had because every time I do a yoga practice, a class, I always choose a word to focus on throughout my practice and to really breathe into. And so today's word that it just came to me, but I chose vulnerability. And we're talking about leadership today and throughout this week. And I really think that the number one key to every leader that shows up as their highest self, they show up as their most vulnerable self. And so I really had this major aha moment in the class, and it just all kind of came together for me. And I've studied vulnerability a lot. Like Brene Brown is one of my favorite. She actually is an expert in vulnerability and shame, and I've read all of her books. I highly recommend Daring Greatly, Rising Strong, The Gifts of Imperfection. They're incredible, and her TED Talks are amazing. But so I've studied a lot about vulnerability, and it hit me when we're in yoga. They always say that when you're in a pose and you're really trying to land it, that scrunching up your face or holding any tension in your face doesn't actually help. It doesn't do anything. So they're always saying loose faces, like let the tension go out of your face. And it really hit me that you can say a lot of different things are the opposite of vulnerability, but what I would say for me, resistance is the opposite of vulnerability. It's when you're vulnerable, you are open. You are completely open, and you are ready to receive anything and everything. So that means any life lesson. That means any challenge in your business. That means any challenge with your business partners. It means you're open to doing the things that are fearful. You're open to feeling the rejection. You're open to going along the journey and not having you want to have an end result, but not having a specific plan of or a specific need for it to be one way, right? So you're just willing, I really was just thinking the whole class about really being open to everything in life, and almost in a way where I just put my trust in the universe, where I just put my trust in something other than me, and being open to whatever comes of that. So whatever comes of relationships for me, and whatever happens in my business. I didn't start out at coaching network marketers. I didn't start out sharing any of my sales expertise whatsoever. I wanted to kind of run away from it. But I was open. I was open to whatever the universe brought me and what my clients needed. And because I was so vulnerable to that, I was able to produce some really amazing content this event, some live workshops, and now some future events, Diva Business School, Sales Mastery. So that's going to be coming up in the summer. And I was really able to do that, but it was because I was in a place where I was really just listening to the universe, and or you could say listening to God, whatever you believe in, that's okay, I'm not here to discredit any of that, but just being open to receiving inspiration. And you can't be open and fearful at the same time. So I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. And fear is resistance. So anytime you're fighting against something, fighting against feeling fear, fighting against rejection, fighting against putting yourself out there, fighting against having a tough conversation with someone in your business, anytime you're just pushing against, anytime you're scrunching up your face and you're tense and you're tense and you're just holding all the energy of your body inside of you, that is resistance. That's fear. And when you let it all go, you just become open, and you really are able to experience things at a different level. So for me today, I was able to, when I couldn't put the tension in my body, and there was a lot of times, especially when it's a hard class, and although it was a sunrise yoga class, it was very hard. And it was my first class back after a while. I've been running instead, so it was a little bit intense, but there were times where I was tempted to give in to the pain, and I think that when you give in to the pain, again, that's resistance. Although you're giving in, it's like resisting feeling the pain, so you give in, right? That's just a result of it. And so I would want to fall out of the pose. And instead, because I was choosing to be vulnerable and open, I was choosing to allow the pain and to just experience it. And I was choosing to not make it mean it should be easier or it should be feel different in my body. And so I was just really put all the concentration in how it felt in my body and what it felt to really be strong and hold my body up. And for the length of time I had to do it. And for me, all of a sudden I realized when I'm not resisting, when I'm not feeling like the pain should be less than it is, it's when I'm in my most power. I'm in my, just all of my strength. That's when I'm in it. And the only way to get there is to really be open and allow the pain to come. Allow the hard work to happen. Allow all of the things that don't feel good. That's what being vulnerable is being open and exposed. And not trying to manage the outcome and not trying to manage what gets in, right? I want you to really close your eyes unless you're driving. I know some of you listen to me while you're driving, but if you're in a place where you can just watch this, close your eyes. And I want you to imagine opening your chest up. I've talked about this before, but unzipping your heart and opening your chest up. And I want you to imagine that all of your insides are on the outside. They're just all exposed. So all of you is just out. Right? And there's anything and everything can get in, right, at that point. And that's what it really feels like to be open and to kind of expose your insides and let everything just be out there, lay it on the table. When you can do that, then you are in this space, because imagine, I'm going to sit up a little bit more so you can see. If you're open, your hands are open, right? Your whole body is open, and your hands are out like this, palm facing away from you. And when you're like that, what else is that the same pose as? Receiving, right? You're open to receiving, right? You're open to allowing anything to come your way. And when you're vulnerable and you're not in fear, it means that whatever comes your way can't kill you. It can't hurt you. You're bigger than that. So it can come to you, and you don't need to shield yourself from it. You don't need to self-protect. That's what vulnerability is. I don't need to self-protect today. When I have this tough conversation with someone in my organization, I don't need to self-protect. I don't need to defend, right? When I am going to a networking event, I don't need to self-protect. So I don't need to show up differently than I normally am. I don't need to put on a persona. I don't need to be fake, right? I'm just open. And anyone can come to me. And I can take whatever someone says about me, whatever someone says about my business. I can take rejection. I can take anything. I can take someone else's negative emotion. I can take it because I'm open, right? And also, we've talked about, especially with this leadership, being open to being wrong, right? Being vulnerable to being wrong. To hearing somebody else's story and letting it land inside your body. Remember, I just want you this whole time to be thinking that your insides are out, right? Your heart, your rib cage, all of the organs, everything's exposed, right? That's what it really is. It's like you're willing to let something inside of your body. Being wrong, somebody else's opinion, right? Someone else their beliefs, right? Beliefs are really scary. We tend to really defend and resist, and someone has a different belief than us. They're just wrong. And it's life is so different when you can come from a place of not needing to be that way, to hear someone's belief and try to even understand it, even if you don't believe it, to really I just remember in high school, one of my best friends was from Pakistan, and I used to just have a million questions for her, just a million. I would just wanted to know all about it. And, I have friends from Cuba, and I have friends from Israel, and she's one of my best friends too. She lives there now, and we FaceTime, and, I just remember, I'm always just asking her questions about her faith, about her, spirituality. Just I want to know everything there is to know. And the same thing with my Muslim friend. Tell me all about it. Explain it to me. I want to know. And it comes. And the same thing with my Christian friends. I mean, it's this ability to really just. I want to connect so deeply with people. I think that's also why I love learning languages, and I love the idea of being able to speak to anyone and not have that language barrier. So my goal for my life is that I before I die, I want to be able to speak at least 5 languages, at least. And I have the languages picked out, but I want to learn sign language too. Like, I just want to be able to communicate with people. And it's more than just language, because we could think about this. We speak to people with the same language all day, every day, and we don't hear them. We don't hear them. We don't experience them. We don't take them in. Because how can we when we're so blocked up and self-protecting and resisting and fearful and self-defending and worried about no one getting in our beliefs and no one like telling us something that we don't believe? It's a whole different world when you can believe what you believe deeply, right? I can have deep conversations with people who believe far different things than me, atheists, right? I can have very deep conversations, intimate conversations with them, and with people who have very different political views than me, right? That, I mean, real, like, people who are conspiracy theorists and, are doomsday preppers. I can have these conversations with them, and it doesn't make me need to self-defend, because I'm not worried about what I'm losing. I'm worried about gaining. Like, I'm focused on gaining, not losing me and what I believe, because I firmly believe that already. I know who I am and what I want and what I believe. I know what I think is true about the universe, and no one believing opposite of me affects that, but I don't need to self-defend, because I know in my heart what it is. And so when I'm just open and vulnerable, I can hear people. I can hear what they have to say, even if it's something completely different than me. Some of my really good friends that I love and cherish, they post stuff about like making fun of self-development all the time, about coaches and how they're trying to just take your money and like, tell you something's wrong with you. And I mean, I've heard crazy things come out of their mouth that they're so great. They can't be grateful because of all the overuse of grateful in the world. Like, just great, like things like they'll see my posts and write negative stuff, and it still doesn't bother me. I still love them for who they are. They're like the most cynical, just, and I still love them. But it's because I don't need them to agree with me or believe in me. And so it's the same thing in your business. If you don't need someone to be, like, I don't need everyone to be my tribe. You guys are my tribe. And I'm so grateful for you guys. Like, I'm so grateful for you all. I love you all so much. But I don't need everyone to be my tribe. I just need you guys. And I don't even really need you guys, but I love you guys, right? So what if you really came to every business conversation that way? Like, I don't need to self-defend, and I don't need to protect. I don't need to guard myself from your rejection. I don't need to guard myself from what you might say to me. I don't need to do any of that, because we're talking about building relationships in the first place, right? Like, that's what this whole program is about, learning how to network and build relationships. So if I don't need to protect myself from you, from anything that could happen as a result of me interacting with you, if I am completely open and vulnerable, letting y'all in my insides, if I'm doing that, the only thing that can happen is I gain. It's the only option. It doesn't mean you lose. It just means I gain. I gain knowledge about you. I gain knowledge about me. I gain perspective. I gain connection to you. I gain, just all sorts of things. I gain you in my life, no matter how that shows up, right? Because again, I'm talking about allowing and being receptive of the universe. So if you think this person has to be my business partner, this person has to be my client, meeting this person, like if you exchange someone's business cards at Starbucks and all you're thinking is, oh my gosh, this person could be my next client, oh my gosh, this person, my client, right? We talked about Simon Sinek's video, hopefully you've all watched it. He talks about if you're just building the relationship to where eventually you get to the point where I'm comfortable enough and I tear my walls down and then you move in, that's not building relationships. That's just planning an attack, right? Building relationships is I'm open to whatever you and I create together, whether that has to do with my business or not, right? Maybe we're just here to create an amazing friendship. Maybe we're just here to create support for each other. Maybe, who knows, we're here to joint venture one day together. Maybe one day I'm here just to show up for you, right? Maybe it's not even about how you're going to affect my life, but maybe it's how I'm going to affect yours and the person I'm going to become by affecting your life. What's that going to change inside me by showing up for you? By being 100% for you, what am I going to evolve into? Right? Because that's really how I look at it. Like, there have been so many times where I have not done business with someone, but I've shown up for them in a way that changes who I am. So when the next person comes around that I do business with, I'm a different person. And that's really what it's all about. So it starts with being open, with allowing and receiving and being vulnerable, and not needing to hold tension anywhere in your body, because that's just bracing yourself, right? Just like our bodies brace ourselves for a car accident. We don't need to do any of that. Because if you really, truly are complete inside, and we're going to work on that. Those of you that are going to Diva Business School with me, there's going to be a lot of that. Those of you that are like, yeah, but I don't have confidence, and I don't know what I believe, and I am scared inside. But you can even find vulnerability and openness in that, because most people are scared inside too. Most people are fearful. Most people don't know what they believe. There are very few people. I am so lucky and so incredibly grateful for who I spend time with, because I got to see my best friend yesterday for the first time in a long time. Her dad was very, very ill, and she was taking care of him in our hometown. And I got to see her, and I can't talk about it too much because I'll cry, but there was a moment when I went to see her, and I sat on the bed for the first time. We hadn't seen each other in a long time, and she just collapsed into me. And we held each other and cried, and for me, that is very vulnerable. I am not a very touchy-feely person. She's brought that out a lot in me over our friendship, and but it was a moment where I could have been very uncomfortable, and I might have missed that intimacy with her. I might have missed that moment. I might have missed that chance to see her and be with her. And so, although it was strange for me and uncomfortable, I sunk into it. I could have guarded against it, and I sunk into it, and it was an amazing moment for our friendship. And so anyways, I'm off on a little tangent there, but you never know what this work can do and how it can show up. But here's what I can say: no matter who you come across, there are like I said, that's where I was going. There are very few people who, and even the people I spend time with who I consider very vulnerable and do not self-defend, and we're, been working on self-development for a very long time together, and we're working on really evolving our minds, and even then there are still barriers of, self-defense with me, with other people. There are still fears we each have, there are fears we express to each other. So even me, I have those fears, and I remember, I was in yoga today, having to, remember to relax my face and not fight against it. So I still go through that. I had a conversation with my coach yesterday where the things she was wanting me to do, I was like, yeah, I'm not ready for that. No. I was hearing what she was saying, and I was like, I feel like we're going to have this conversation again in 6 months. I'm not ready for that. But I caught myself, and I was like, man, I'm really, she's giving me gold, and I'm really pushing against it right now. I'm really saying, I already had committed in my mind, I'm not doing that. Nope, that's not happening. And so that was a really big awakening for me as well. And the only reason why I felt the need to shut down in that conversation and say, no, that's not happening, is because I was afraid, and I didn't want to put myself out there on that level, right? And so no matter who you come across, and no matter how scared you feel inside, and no matter how unsure you feel, and how you're sure that if someone sees you, they're going to be like, whoa, she's crazy and a mess, whoa. Everybody's like that. We're all like that. And so when you can connect to people at that level, that's how you create that space of openness and trust and certainty, right? When you can be in an uncertain feeling, when you're just both in this vulnerable place, and you're both open, and you're both scared and don't know what's going on, and that's when you can bring the certainty, by being willing to experience it. If there's two people in the room, and you're both afraid, but one of you is willing to feel the fear, you are the person who will be in charge of that energy in that room. That will be you. So this is what it's all about. It's not about needing to be fearless. It's about being vulnerable and willing to experience it. And that is, as a lady boss in your business while you're building it and getting clients, or as a leader, how you lead your people follow what you do. So if you want your people to be fearless and you want them to put themselves out there, then you've got to do it on a whole nother level. You've got to really take this whole work to just a whole new platform. And when you do, you'll be shocked at the depths at which people will follow you. You really will. So I hope this message landed with you guys today. It was a really deep one for me. So have a wonderful afternoon, and I can't wait till our call on Thursday. Bye.